Hey, besties. Welcome back to Sandra Unveiled. Let's talk about it. This is episode 3. Okay, remember, this whole first part of my podcast is a bunch of trauma dumping, so let's just get right into it. We left off with me moving to Woodburn, Oregon, from Aurora. So we moved to Woodburn. Woodburn is a cute town, very family oriented, lots of Mexicans, lots of Russians. And at the time, I felt, and from what I saw, the only Black people that were here were me and another young lady that I met at the middle school that I ended up transferring to. I didn't see any other Black people outside of us, literally, at that time. It was still different because moving from a very white community to now this community where there is more people of color, there was still not a lot of us. You feel what I'm saying? I still had friendships back in the Hubbard, Donald, and Aurora areas, the town that I had just moved from. And trauma that I really remember associated with me losing my virginity at the age of 13, very early. Of course, coming from where I was coming from, very misguided, very lost, not a lot of parental guidance at the time, and no mother to teach me what a young lady should be doing and not doing. Just a dad that was a dictator, an addict, and an alcoholic. I lost my virginity early to somebody who I thought loved me. He was grown. That man was 19. Now that I'm a mother myself, I look back on a lot of the things and decisions that I made, and I'm just be like, oh my God, what were you doing? Like, I just want to hug the little me, because if I had better guidance at that time, and especially a mother, I probably would have made way better decisions. But neither here nor there. Can't change it. It happened. I lost my virginity to this young man who, what you kids would call these days, love bombed me into believing that he cared about me. And yeah, that just wasn't the case. Back then, we didn't have all these socials that y'all have. We didn't have the Instagram and the Facebook and stuff. We had Yahoo Chat, AOL, Messenger, and MySpace. And he blocked me on everything after I gave him my virginity. So, yeah, that was traumatizing as hell. But, anyways, we moved to Woodburn. And when we get here, we bought this beautiful home with the settlement money that my adopted dad got from suing for my mother's wrongful death. I loved the house. I was excited about the move because I'm like, okay, this is hopefully a fresh start, right? Hopefully it's going to be a fresh start. Maybe my dad will get his act together, um, continue focusing on work, because back then he was like a renowned plumber here in the Portland metro area and the surrounding areas. He was a very well-known plumber and even did work at the Rose Garden. Now it's called the Moda Center, but back then it was the Rose Garden, and even had a room named after him because he did all the piping in there and stuff. He used to have that plaque on the wall, so we knew that he was that guy when it came to the plumbing industry. But yeah, I thought it was going to be a fresh start. It did not turn out that way. For whatever reason, I don't know if Woodburn just had like a big community of drug addicts or what, I don't know, but my dad's addiction seemed to get even worse after we moved to Woodburn. I was first assigned as a student at Valor Middle School and then pretty quickly got expelled for fighting and confrontations. I know I'm real sweet now, very, I won't say meek, but very slower to temperament, which took a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, I'm human. I'm not perfect, so I still lose my temper here and there, but it's very far and few in between. Back then, I was a hothead, so I got expelled from Valor and immediately was transferred to the only other middle school here in town, which was French Prairie. And I went to French Prairie for the rest of my 7th grade, my 8th grade year. I ended up meeting a girl, and she was a part of a group of girls, and she was like, do you want to be friends with us? You can be a part of our, group, and we do sleepovers and we hang out and we love to eat. And I was like, you know what? Hell yeah. Let's be friends. I ended up joining their girl group, and them was my girls throughout middle school. Loved them down back then, okay? We were all super close besties, and although we didn't mean no harm, we also weren't the nicest group of girls. Some of us, I won't say all of us. A couple of them were so sweet. Some of us were a little more, I'm just gonna keep it real, on our bully. And it was not cool. I mean, later on, like in high school, when we got to freshman year, I did end up apologizing to a girl that got beat up by a couple of us in eighth grade, because she didn't deserve that. The beef was not that deep. We did not have to beat her up. And it was just wrong. I don't know if the other girls ever apologized to that girl, but I saw her freshman year and I was like, I am so sorry. So sorry. But yeah, moving to Woodburn, like I said, I thought it was going to be a fresh start. My dad bought a beautiful home when we moved here to Woodburn. It was a 2-story house, 5 bedrooms. What was it? 2 baths and an extra bedroom in the garage that he had made. It was like a surveillance room. My dad, because of the drugs he was on, like I told you in the prior episode, he was very paranoid. He ended up putting cameras all over the outside of our home. I'm talking every corner and crevice you could think of. And in our garage, there was this little room that he made that was like a surveillance room. When I think back on it, I'm like, this is like some weird doomsday prep ass shit paired with tweaker shit. You know what I'm saying? So he made this room in our garage and it had stacks of little TVs, like TV screens, like the little tiny box ones, and you could see every angle of our home. That man would spend hours, days sitting in there just staring at these screens, staring at everything moving around on the outside of the home. Well, I don't know what his agenda was, but he ended up slowly moving in his tweaker friends into our garage. Mind you, at this time, he has 3 young daughters, teenagers, right? And he has grown men and women living in our garage that were also hooked on drugs. Not all of them were on meth, some of them were on heroin. We'd see spoons and shit out in the garage, bent up, and you could tell they're all burnt on the bottom from people lighting them. It was disgusting. It was terrible. Drugs all around the house. My dad got so deep into his addiction that there were times we literally went months, months with no running water, months with no working electricity. We live in Oregon. It is freezing here in the winter. Okay? It rains constantly. It rains like 75% of the year, if not more. So imagine not having electricity. You know, luckily we had a wood stove, so we were able to, and a fireplace, we were able to heat the home. Oh, until my dad was tweaking and binging one time, and he was like, we came home from school, me and my sisters came home from school. We had this beautiful, huge fireplace in the downstairs game room that had like this gorgeous stone that was like sunset colored. It was like orangey, yellowy color. It was beautiful. One day we came home from school. This man had torn down the entire fireplace. And I'm talking, this thing was like so big, it was like wall size big. It was huge. It was gorgeous. All of those gorgeous stones were sitting outside by our sliding glass door in the backyard when we got home from school. We walked in and there's this enormous, gigantic hole in the wall from where that fireplace was and the stone that was there. And me and my sister's jaws were dropped. We were like, Dad, what are you doing? He was like, I'm doing a project. Okay, I'm gonna take this out, but then I'm gonna rebuild it, and I'm gonna just put a wood fire stove there, and I'll repair the wall, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be gorgeous. Just give me some months. We were like, okay. That didn't happen. He never repaired it. Never. Another time we came home and our actual literal front door of the home, we never used it as a front door because we ended up making it a bedroom. So we would use the sliding glass door downstairs as our like entry door. And then we would go upstairs and go about our days. But this day, we come home and the steps that led up to our front door, gone. The stairs, gone. We were like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, I just have another project. I'm gonna take these stairs down and then I'm gonna rebuild them. And we had this wraparound deck. It was like literally a wraparound like deck and porch. Beautiful, gorgeous. The porch ended up coming to the sliding glass door that was on the second level. And the entry to that sliding glass door would be our kitchen dining room type area. That wraparound part was gone along with the staircase. Like, imagine leaving your home, it's gorgeous, everything looks normal. In the morning, you go to school, you come back after school, and then the fucking porch and the staircase is gone. My dad, again, talking about it's another project. We're watching this man slowly, literally rip apart our home, our brand new home that he just bought in full, gorgeous when we first moved in. And because he's fucking tweaking, he's slowly, literally tearing it apart. And let me tell you, none of those projects ever got completed. Ever. That home stayed without the wraparound porch. The staircase to the front door, finito, didn't exist anymore and never got put back. The fucking fireplace that he tore out of the wall while we were at school never got repaired. Ever. The beautiful home that we had moved into slowly turned into literally a trap house. There were grown ass people that he was letting move into our home, our garage, as he has 3 teenage daughters. And I say this with zero exaggeration. At one point, there were a total, including me and my sisters, and then my dad and my stepbrother at the time. He was a friend of my adopted brother, but even though my adopted brother moved out, he stayed with us. So I guess including, there were 21 people living in our home. 21! But aside of like the family members who actually lived there, those other people were just drug addicts, friends that my dad met somewhere, wherever. And I don't know what the conversations were that were being had, but my dad let these people move in. Okay. They would be doing drugs in our garage. They would be doing drugs in my dad's room. It was horrible. When I got into my freshman year, I joined the high school cheer team. I loved it. I was excited. It was something I always wanted to do, and I was happy to be there. But one time I was getting ready for a football game and I came down in my uniform because I was getting ready to leave. Like, hey, Dad, I'm getting ready to go to the game. It was a Friday night at the high school. And he was like, oh, okay, whatever. One of those disgusting, vile, grown ass men that he did drugs with and let live in our garage as a 14-year-old child in a cheerleading uniform, looked me up and down, then stared at me in my face with my dad standing across from him at the little indoor bar that we had in our game room and said, you got a nice pair of legs on you. My dad did nothing. He didn't say nothing. He didn't do nothing. As a man, you would think, and as a father, that the first reaction would be to punch him in his mouth. No, my dad didn't do anything. I stood there in shock, scared. I was terrified. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm going to go. I ended up leaving with a friend of mine so we could walk because my dad wasn't going to take me. He was too busy getting drunk, too busy getting high. Those were the kind of things that we had to deal with. My dad, at the time, he was so deep in his addiction that we would go months without electricity, months without running water. I would have to go stay the night at my best friend's house to take a shower before school. I would have to stay the night at her house to wash clothing so I could wear clean clothes and go to school. I would have to steal just to get clothes because my dad didn't buy us. At this point, he was so deep in his addiction, my freshman, he did not buy us school clothes. My dad did not buy us school supplies. No, we had to take that stuff so we could get it. And I hate that I was in that position as a teenager in order to have just the basic necessities, food in my stomach, food to feed my sisters, clothing on my back, clothing on their backs, because my dad wasn't providing it. It was so bad that we would open the fridge, no milk, no eggs, open the cabinet, no bread, nothing to eat. But what we did see in the fridge, big old 40s of beer. He made sure to have his beer. At the time, his girlfriend, she loved peach schnapps. So we would see her little peach wine coolers in the fridge, but not no milk. So we could have a bowl of cereal, not a box of cereal in the cupboard. But we'd go in his room, and he had a computer desk, old school one, that had this drop down that you could like close. And we pulled that up one time, literally a pile of white powdery stuff just sitting there, just in the house, in his room, a pile of drugs. I don't know if it was the meth or it was some cocaine or whatever the hell they were doing, but a pile. Me and my sisters, we all saw it with our own eyes, just drugs sitting there in the house, but isn't no running water. To the point where we can't even flush the toilet. These junkies are using the downstairs bathroom to take shits and piss, and it would just pile up in the toilet. They were using jugs of water from wherever they would get water outside, whether it be the pond or I don't know, neighbor's hose, and they would fill up the jug with water, bring it in the house, pour it down the toilet so they could flush it after a week of sitting there shitting in it and pissing in it. Like, that's the conditions my dad had us living in. It was disgusting, deplorable at that. But he made sure to have his drugs. He made sure he had his liquor. He made sure he had his beer. He made sure his girlfriend had her drink, and they made sure that they could get high. But my dad couldn't make sure that we had clothes on our back that fit. We didn't even have panties that fit. We would have panties with holes in them because they had been the same ones that we had been wearing for years. But he wouldn't buy us new ones because his money had to go elsewhere. That's the type of household we were living in. It was terrible. We tried. We tried to tell adults. We tried to tell the police. My adopted sister and I, the one that's the same age as me, we had even ran away at one point. We ran away to Salem. We had Googled, searched a place for us to run away to in Salem that took youth, runaway youth. And I don't even remember how long they allowed us to stay there, but they did. They allowed us to stay there. I mean, of course, they had to tell our dad that we were there, but we told them everything that was going on and they let us stay there. But eventually we had to go back because, they can't keep you. You're a minor, you have a legal guardian, and we weren't wards of the state. So they couldn't keep us. There were many times that we tried to report this type of stuff and it didn't work. Around this age, I never wanted to be home because it was either I was getting my ass beat, we were listening to his girlfriend get her ass beat. My dad used to beat on his girlfriend. And me and my sisters would be so scared that we would just pile in one room. We would all go to one room and we would literally just sit like huddled together. And at the time, we had my older cousin living with us. She was also a girl. Whatever she was going through with her family, she ended up coming to stay with us. And we would all just pile in one room and just hug each other and hold each other and cry while we would literally hear, because the vent would run down to my dad's room, up to the room that at the time that I was staying in. And we could hear the hits, my dad hitting on her and her screams and her cries. It was haunting. To this day, I have night terrors. I've always had night terrors since a teenager because of the abuse and the trauma. But to this day, I have night terrors about that shit. We could hear him beating her. Once the sound stopped, we would slowly separate from our bedrooms and go about our day or our night or go to bed. And then the next day or later that night or later that evening that we would see them, she'd come out of the room bruised up. Black eyes, big ass huge bruises on her arms, black. Mind you, she was a white woman, so black bruises on a white lady. I'm not even talking about purple. I'm talking like these were black, dark bruises all over her. He would have scratches on him because you can tell she was trying to do some sort of defense or whatever, but he would have scratches all over him. And it was just hell. It was hell. It was hell. Hell. So imagine, of course, I don't want to be home. My sisters were more quieter children than I was. I was very boisterous. I spoke my mind. I didn't care who didn't like what I had to say. I didn't care who agreed with me or didn't agree with me. I was very much a leader type of child, very headstrong. I didn't want to be home. So I was gone as much as I could be. And with that, it was because I was dating older boys that were like 18 through 21 at that age. I'm talking at 13, 14, 15. I'm dating older boys because my sisters and I didn't have a way to eat. We didn't have a way to clothe ourselves. So I figured if I, a pretty young girl, could date an older boy who had money, I could at least make sure that we could stop at Taco Bell and get 3 meals that I could take home to my sisters so they could eat for the night. Not just me being out with my boyfriend eating and enjoying myself while I know my sisters are home starving and probably hadn't eaten a meal all day. The food bank boxes only lasted so long. The powdered milk and the cornflake cereal, you know what I'm saying? The expired bread that'd be almost molding. Like, no, I couldn't do that. So I started dating older boys. And I used those older boys to feed my sisters, to clothe my sisters and myself, to make sure that my cousin and my sisters had, breakfast or a lunch that day, or us just being able to have dinner that night, something in our belly, because my dad wasn't making sure that we were okay and fed and alive and, you know what I'm saying, thriving, like nothing. He was too deep at that point, too deep. So, with that, I got a lot of backlash. I was being told by his girlfriend. One time I had gotten dropped off by a boyfriend of mine, and I had brought my sisters home some food. And his girlfriend was mad about something. I don't know, maybe because I didn't bring her something. I really don't remember but she was mad about something. And we ended up getting into an argument because she had told me I was a whore. She was like, "You're just a little whore. You prostitute your body to bring stuff home." And I, of course, I'm defensive. I'm like, if y'all weren't junkies and were providing for us, because my dad at this point had lost his job, obviously. He was too deep in his addiction. But, I'm like, if y'all were providing for us, no, I'm not selling my body. I mean, at the times, I liked these boys. Like, you think you're in love or whatever. But I specifically wanted the older ones because I knew that they had jobs and they would have money. And of course, they're going to spoil me, the young, pretty girlfriend. Like, I was just offended. I'm like, I'm not a whore. And I think I called her a bitch or something. My dad flew up them stairs. At the time, I had a friend over, just a friend, not a boyfriend, but he was a neighborhood friend. And my dad knocked me so hard, I flew over the rock. It was a reclining, rocking single chair that was in the living room, off from where our kitchen and dining room was. It was like one whole open space. And he hit me so hard, I flew over that fucking chair, somewhere, somehow scratched my ankle, and it had torn open my ankle and it was bleeding. And my friend was just like, "Let's go. Like, I don't know what's going on here." And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, "I'm so sorry." He was like, "Nope, let's just go. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you can come walk down the street to my house and come hang out with me for a few hours or whatever until things cool down." Like, my dad didn't care. He didn't care who was around. He didn't care if it was a room packed full of people or if it was just us alone. He was going to put hands. But that's how they would talk to me. And I'm like, if y'all were being grown adults taking care of us, I would not have to feel like the adult, like I needed to provide a meal or money for my siblings and my cousins. So we're in here surviving while you guys are spending all of your coins on alcohol, beer, and drugs. And we are up here with molded bread, powdered milk to drink, and closely expiring eggs. Like, that's all we had in the house at times. We're here with no electricity for 6 months at a time. We're here with no running water. So we need to leave and either go to the school gym to wash our ass or go to a friend's house just to take a shower. Like, no, y'all don't get to call me a whore and this and that and try to degrade me and make me feel worse about myself than I already do because this is my life because you're not doing your job as adults. I started hanging out with the wrong kind of people. My sister, my biological sister, she had a friend, we'll call her M, who would come over a lot. I'm 14 at the time. Uh, she she came over one day and it was a nice day. I had put on a cute, back then layering was it, right? So Aeropostale tank tops, just layering it like white, blue, dark blue with some cute little shorts and some Nike Dunks, blue and white of various color. And I was feeling cute. We were gonna go hang out that day. We were gonna go to the skate park. No intent to do anything. We were literally just gonna go to the skate park and hang out. Just two girly pops looking cute, chilling out in the sun. We start walking to go to the skate park, and right by the Woodburn skate park there was this house. So there's the railroad tracks as you walk down Cleveland. So we're walking down Cleveland. There's railroad tracks, and then you take a left, right? And then on the right hand side there's the Woodburn Aquatic Center. Then there's this one house right on the corner of that road as you walk across the grass to go to the skate park. There's also like a baseball field there. But as we're walking across the street to go walk across the field to go to the skate park, there's this house. And M, the friend, said she wanted to talk to this guy that she knows. Again, I'm going to try really hard not to use real names. So we'll call him C. His name started with a C. M wanted to stop and converse with this guy that she knew and she thought was cute. She was like, "Can we just stop, please? Like, I just want to say hi. I've been trying to talk to him for a while, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Girl, no. Like, we're just supposed to be going to the skate park and then going home. That's it." And she was like, "Please, please." So whatever. I was like, "Okay, let's stop." I was so annoyed because I really did not want to stop. I just wanted to go to the skate park and relax and chill and laugh and have fun. We stop. M and C are having a conversation. These two boys older than me, they were like 16, 17. They stop and they're like, "Oh, hey, see, what y'all doing out here? I see you working on your car. What are y'all doing?" Or who are these girls? And I was like, "Oh, my name is Sandra." And the girl I was with, she was like, "Oh, this is my name." M and C go back to conversing and flirting and whatever. And the two other boys and I were just like standing there, you know, they were stuck up, rude, cocky personalities. So I was not interested. And anybody who knows me knows none of that moves me, especially when you're like, I just can't. Cocky, I'm not moved. It doesn't turn me on. It's not cute. I'm not going to flirt with you. I'm not interested. And at the time, I had a boyfriend. So I definitely wasn't interested in these little pipsqueaks who pulled up. But well, M and C, they were like, "Oh, you know, we want to talk a little more," or whatever they planned on doing. They wanted to just talk outside. I was like, "Okay." So I was standing off to the side. I was just minding my business. I wasn't in their conversation or nothing. And then the other two boys who had pulled up were like, "Oh, we're gonna go inside and watch a movie, listen to some music. Like, you want to come inside and chill while they're out here, you know, getting into their conversation." The house that we were at was packed with people. I saw adults walking in and out. I saw small children walking in and out. There was tons of people there at that property. It was the middle of the day. So to me, I was like, well, sure. Like, you know, if they're going to flirt and do their thing, you know how it is when you're teenagers and you're a wing woman or wing man. It's like, whatever. Like, I don't want to, you know, be in the mix of squashing whatever y'all are doing. So I said, okay. And I thought it would be fine. So I followed those two boys into that home. Obviously, they're familiar with the home because they just walked right in. And as soon as you walk into the front door of that home, there is a staircase on the right side. And we walk in and I start turning. I put my hand on the railing to start to walk up the stairs, and the boys were like, "Oh, no, 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 we're not going to go up there. We're going to go in here to this room." Well, right across from the staircase is a door to a bedroom. And then there's a hallway to go straight into another room. And I was like, "Well, why are we going to go in here?" And when my friend's out here, like I want to stay close in earshot so I know when she's ready to go, because we were going to head to the skate park. And they were like, sorry, I haven't talked about this in a while. Um they were like, "Well, we're just going to hang out, give them some privacy so they can do what they're going to do, and the kids and the families are upstairs, so we're just going to go in this room so we can just listen to music and watch TV." I was like, "Oh, okay, like whatever." I don't know, I'm a kid, like I'm fucking 14, 15, like I'm young. So I was like, "Okay, whatever, like let's just chill." And I'm used to being in sketchy situations because look at what my home life was like, like having random people around, people in and out of the house. Like I was used to that. I felt weird because I was like, "Well, why are we going into this room and there's a whole house full of people?" But I I kind of understood at the same time because I'm like, "Okay, well, let's just chill, let's jam. Like, are we smoking? Like, what are we doing?" So we go into that room, and I instantly regretted it. The first guy walks in front of me, so he goes first. I'm in the middle. I walk in after him, and then the second guy walks in behind me. The first dude ushers me towards the bed that was right there by the boombox. We're a little old. I'm in my 30s, so yeah, we didn't have like iPads and stuff. So the little stereo that had the CD mix. He goes, "Oh, sit right here." And like, I'm gonna turn on the radio. I was like, "Okay." I didn't see a TV in there. That was the first thing I noticed was ain't no TV in here, but there was a radio, like a boombox, like I said, a stereo. So I said, "Okay." Like I sat down. As soon as I sat down, the second guy is in the doorway now, and he shuts the door. Oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Um, oh, my heart is racing. Jesus. Um, he shuts the door behind him. And I'm not going to recount every detail because I really don't want to have a panic attack. Long story short, they raped me. They raped and sodomized me. As that is happening, one has his hand over my mouth. So as I'm screaming and crying, trying to scream, it's muffled because my mouth is being covered. And in between that, I am biting and like licking and trying to get his hand from my mouth. But as one has a hand like this around my mouth, the other also has my hands behind my back. So I can't fight. In between the biting of the hands, I guess you could hear some of my screams. I hear banging at the bedroom door, and it is my friend. Maybe she heard, or people in the house heard. So they were asking my friend, like, "Where's your friend? Like, what's going on?" Because I said the house is packed. I hear banging at the door. One of the dudes gets up real quick, goes to the door, and he's pushing on it with his back to keep it closed because they were trying to open it. People from the outside were trying to open it. And you can hear banging. And then I start screaming louder because now there's only one guy and he can't control my hands and my mouth as he's fucking raping me. So I'm screaming and I'm trying to bite him. And my friend's like, "Open this fucking door, open this fucking door." And the dude she was with is banging on that. Like he's trying to push that thing open. He's like, "Open this fucking door. What the fuck is going on in there? Why is she yelling?" Long story short, Glenn gets off of me. I am sitting there like this and I am shaking, crying, just hysterical. My clothes are ripped off of me. C and M come in the room, my friend and the dude she was talking to outside. They come in the room. There's people standing behind them. The people who lived at the home, whose house it was, they don't really speak English, so not good English, so they don't know what's going on. They're like, these random people are in my house, and this black girl, is just screaming and crying. She barely got her clothes on right. Her hair's messed up, and my shoes were off and everything. And I'm crying, and my friend was like, "What the fuck happened?" And she gets me out of that room. She's like, come on, let's leave now." We get out of the room, we go to leave. We go to leave, but I don't have shoes on. And I'm like, I need my shoes. Tell me why they literally, the two dickheads who just raped me and sodomized me, told me I couldn't take my shoes. Oh, I don't know where your shoes are at. I don't know where y'all really raped me and then stole my shoes, hid them in this small ass room, telling me I can't take them or you can't find them as we're standing out in the yard and I'm just trying to go. I don't even have shoes on. This house full of people is looking at me crazy because they're like, who is this black girl? Why is she here? Her clothes are fucked up. She's screaming. She's yelling. Like, I'm literally screaming. I'm cussing them out. I was like, give me my fucking shoes. Like, you guys literally have the audacity to fucking rape me and you won't give me my fucking shoes so I can walk home? I felt so embarrassed. I felt so degraded and I felt so fucking mad. Mad at myself because I am a very intuitive girl, even at that age. I shouldn't have gone in there. And I know it's not my fault. I know. But I could have just made, if I just made slightly different decisions. anyways. Anyways. I walk home barefoot, no fucking shoes. And anybody who knows the area knows it's just rocks and gravel on my way home. So my feet hurt. And my clothes are disheveled. My hair is disheveled. Like, I am bawling the whole way home, crying as she's walking me home. And my neighbor, who lived across the way, he barely speaks English, but that was like my best friend. And he was a grown man too. He was like 21, 22 at the time, 23 maybe. But he was just my best friend. We always played basketball outside. That was my friend. And he saw me. The sun was starting to set. It was getting dark. And he saw me walking down the road to my house, looking how I was looking, crying, eyes red and swollen. And he was like, Mija, what happened? And he says this in Spanish because at the time I could understand a lot of Spanish and I could speak Spanish. Road, the neighborhood friend, he had taught me Spanish. But anyways, he's telling me in Spanish, he's like, what's going on? Like, what the hell happened? Why do you look like this? Where are your shoes? Where's your jacket? It's dark. And I was just like, I can't tell you. Like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to go home. Like, I don't want to talk about it. And he was like, no, something is wrong. He grabbed me by my arms. He goes, no, something is wrong. What's the matter? And I immediately pulled back because I'm still in like defense mode. He goes, what happened? Like, he could tell like something was just off because I don't act like that with him. I trusted him wholeheartedly. So for me to pull back from him and act like that, like scared, he was like, no, something is wrong. And I told him what happened. He looked heartbroken and he said, no, Mija, you have to tell your dad. Go inside, tell your dad, call the cops. I said, no, like, no. Because mind you, I was a young girl. Like, I was young when I lost my virginity. So I was sexually active. I had a boyfriend at the time and, I was sexually active. I wasn't, I was a promiscuous kid, like teenager. So I didn't think that anybody would believe me. I was a party girl. I was an alcoholic at that point. I partied all the time just to get away from home. I was wildin'. You feel me? Like, people knew me in Woodburn at the time for being just a wild girl. Like, I was fighting all the time. I was just very like, I just didn't think anybody would believe me. Especially my dad, of all people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm his favorite person to bully. I'm his favorite person to pick on. So I definitely didn't think that he would believe me or protect me. I go back and forth with my neighbor, and he's like, no, I'm going to go tell your dad. He literally, I'm standing out on the end of my driveway by the basketball hoop, just shivering at this point and crying. No shoes. My feet are red and fucked up on the bottom. And he ran into the sliding glass door on the bottom level and went in there, found my dad, told my dad what happened. My dad came out of that house. And when I tell you, I've never seen, other than when my adoptive mom had died, I have not seen this man cry. He's a very he's very old school, very traditional, very Republican, very like macho man. So I didn't see him emotional a lot. And he walked out of the house and saw me in the driveway. And as soon as we made eye contact, I'm like getting the chills. As soon as we made eye contact, he dropped to his knees and he said, baby girl, like, I'm sorry that happened to you. Hold on. Hold on. I really don't want to make this part of the story long because it's just fucking traumatizing. And I haven't talked about it in a long time. He said, baby girl, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry. And he called the cops. The cops came, EMS came. They wanted to take me to the hospital for a rape kit. And they wanted to take me to the hospital for a rape kit. So I went to the hospital. My dad said that, he wanted me to go. So I went to the hospital, went through the whole process. God, it felt like it took forever. And I was just so uncomfortable. Like, imagine being raped and sodomized and then having to go to the hospital and retell a story to the cops, retell a story to the nurse, retell a story to the doctor, retell it to the fucking rape advocate that showed up, retell it to the doctor that comes in to do the rape kit. Like, you have to tell this story over again, like 6 different times to 6 different people. And they did the rape kit, they found evidence. One of the boys was arrested. The other one, through the grapevine of the gossip of town, I was told his family was hiding him or whatever, like helped him get out of town. But they were able to arrest one of the 2, but they found DNA and hair, pubic hair and saliva, from both of them on my body. So there was evidence. The one ended up going to court. They offered me to show up in court to tell my story, to give a statement in front of the judge, and I did not. I told my dad I couldn't do it because the rape advocate told me, like, with me being a promiscuous kid, like, they're gonna cross-examine me in court and they're gonna ask me about my sexual history. They're gonna ask me about my partying. They're gonna ask me about my life at home. And I just feel like I didn't want to go through the humiliation of being questioned about the things that I do in my personal life while trying to defend myself and say, still as a child, it doesn't matter what I do in my personal life, what I consent to. This was not consent. So you don't get to question me about the decisions that I make outside of this. Sorry, y'all, I needed a moment. Anyways, I decided not to go. At the time, I was a teenager, I was a child, I was a baby. My daughter, my oldest daughter, literally is right now the age that I was then when they assaulted me. And I refused to go to some court where they were going to have the opportunity to degrade me even further and publicly and on record to ask me about the consensual decisions I choose to make at that age and use it as a form of defense for the persons who decided to do things to me without my consent. So I did not go.